Hi guys, I'm Vivian Reed and welcome to my channel. Now, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to like. And as I always say, if you make a comment, say nice things. That would be really, really nice. Now today, I have such a special guest. I mean, she is a performer extraordinaire. She is a renowned opera singer. She has concertized all over the world. Not only that, she has performed at the Metropolitan Opera. She was the first African American woman to play the role of Mimi in La Boheme. And she stars quite a lot in the role of Carlotta in Phantom of the Opera. She has created several shows. This girl ain't no joke, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Janinah Burnett. How you doing, Janina?
Hey
Oh, honey, I'm so glad that you could do this because it is really about having qualified, great performers on to give good information to young people who might be watching, who need guidance, even older people who have been in the business and
girl.
need guidance.
Yeah.
So, Janina, let's start with you are an exceptional performer on the stage. What drives you to want to be the best that you can be?
Oh my goodness. Well, I live to be on the stage. It is such a pleasure for me to dwell there because I feel like it's a free zone and that I can be who I am. Um, but there's something inside of me that definitely wants to strive to be the best that I can be. Not
Ah,
perfection, so to speak, because that doesn't exist, but to be the kind of artist who serves the art in the best way possible. Because I
ah.
believe that that's my job. That is my job. That's what I'm here to do. And I'm going to do it.
Guys, are did you hear that? Did you hear what she said? To to strive to be the best that she can be. Whatever God has given her, to multiply it, do something with it, hone it, whatever it takes. Because why? She lives to be on the stage. And that's my point. Don't come into this business if it is not your passion. Because when I keep saying this, you won't win. You simply won't win because the business is too hard. So, Janina, let's go back. The stellar performer that you have become. I know that we have had a conversation like earlier on when you were much younger, uh, where you were told to perform a certain way. And I've actually seen you do it, where you were focusing just straight ahead and you weren't moving your arms. Quite different from the way you have been performing for the last, I can't even remember seeing you do that. And so it's been years. How did that come about that you were just staring straight ahead? That's what I call it. But I know these teachers who tell people to do this, they say focusing. How did that come about, honey?
Well, I was in my first job right out of my graduate degree program was in the cast of La Boheme on Broadway. And this was an interesting presentation of La Boheme because it was Baz Luhrmann's interpretation, and it was not in an opera house, so to speak. It was on Broadway. It was utilizing the Broadway performers primarily, and it was doing a new thing. It was having three rotating casts, and it was just challenging the standards of what Broadway had been in the past. And again, it was bringing opera, a quote unquote foreign art form, to the Broadway stage. So there were a lot of ways in which this was a groundbreaking kind of hybrid of sorts. And it was that throughout. It was that with regard to costume. It was that with regard to direction. It was that with regard to the set. So one of the elements that Baz was bringing in from the screen was the notion of having a close-up. And so he said to his assistants, with whom I worked primarily, he told them that the way that we achieve a close-up on stage is that the artist the actor focuses straight ahead and doesn't use any of their arms or anything, and just walks forward downstage with a focus. That was what, he believed, or that's what the technique was that he set forth, that the assistant director interpreted and then gave to us.
Okay, but let me ask you this. At the time, because I know you were very young, at the time, did you think that's strange?
Yes, it was very difficult because, intrinsically we felt like, we wanted to move our arms. And at first I was moving my hands and they were just like, no, don't do it. And I was, but some people on stage, because once you're on stage, you're free. Some people did it anyway, but
move their arms?
They moved their arms and they did what they wanted to do. It was so interesting because, as an artist, as I've learned, we want to take the direction that we're given. I'm a good girl. I'm going to do what I'm told in terms of, in order to do what the show requires, and see what I find within that, of course. But because I was really young, I didn't necessarily have a lot to compare that style of performance with. And so it was something that I utilized, and it became a part of my toolkit, and
yes.
performance.
Would you say it was ingrained in you because you had done it for that length of time on Broadway in La Boheme, and then you continued to do it afterward just for a little bit? I mean, was it ingrained?
Well, I don't think it was ingrained at all. I think what was interesting when we did our show, Three Mo Divas, I was doing La Boheme on Broadway at the Amundsen at the same time. So I think to do two varying shows, at the same time, which required separate kinds of technique, I was still finding my way through, Yes. So, but it wasn't something that was ingrained. I think it was something that, was very familiar because I had done so many times.
Oh my God. Thank God that is like gone, because your performance skills are just amazing. Let's talk about the character work with you. When you are exploring a character, let's say it's a new character, how do you go about that?
Oftentimes when I'm working on a character, I feel like every song I sing, I have to connect with the text.
Yes.
I have to connect with what I'm saying and really allow it to become internalized, really see the text painting that is happening. And if I'm singing in a foreign language, without a doubt, the translation has to be at the forefront of my mind.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there. Did y'all hear what she said? You just cannot pick up an aria, whatever you're singing in classical music, and if it's a foreign language, not deal with the translation. Because I had another opera singer on, Janina, who told me she asked one of her students, so tell me what you're singing about. What is that phrase there? What does that phrase mean? He couldn't answer her. Could not answer. So go ahead, sweetheart.
Yeah. We have to, at the end of the day, we are singers. We are storytellers. Yes. We are storytellers, and we have to know the story that we are telling. Otherwise, I don't care. If you're telling me something and you're not invested in it.
Wow.
Why should I be? So it's very important that we get to understand our text, and we get to understand the story, because we can be singing in English and still not have any idea what we're talking about. So it really behooves us to understand and to understand the context of the text we're singing, but then to go a step further and understand what's going on at the time that this story is being told. What's going on? Why these words? Are they religious based? Are they from, are they activist based? Are they doing something to help the forward movement of something? We're not just getting up there singing any words, just random words. I must say that I have been really into these verses during the pandemic, and verses are where they would bring like various artists, like they had Patty and Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle, and they each presented music that they sang. And a lot of times they call it a versus, like who is better, but how can you compare these artists? You just can't. But what was one thing that was really fantastic about that particular verses is that each song that the women presented, they talked about the songwriter. They said the songwriter for this song is this person, and this person wrote the text. And what a wonderful thing to know, because we just often hear these women singing these songs. They're such compelling storytellers, and we believe them. We believe that it's their story. But so then to hear that there was another person, to acknowledge that there was another person in the room who gave them that, it just was wonderful. So for me as an artist, it really helps me to not only know the text, not only know the context of what I'm singing, but to know the larger picture of what this story comes from.
Okay, Jananah, you spoke of, listen up, guys, doing your homework. Would you expound on that, Jananah?
Yes, doing your homework. It's something that you have to really begin to learn to love. At first, it can seem like drudgery. You're like, oh God, I got to do this homework. I got to go home and I got to go read all this stuff and I got to sit and learn this music. But after having done so numerous times and discovering the magic of the craft during those times, I mean, yes, there's magic on the stage, but most of my work happens when I'm practicing.
That's right. Same here,
and
honey.
Also, because it is there, I can find all of the ways that I can go. I can say, okay, so if it goes this way, then I know I can do this. If it goes this way, I know I can do this. If it goes this way, I know what it feels like in my body. And then still we never know for sure what's going to happen on the stage, but we have explored almost every option that could possibly happen. And therefore we are secure. And the nerves are going to be there. But if you're not secure, the nerves will come.
Nerves are even worse. Yeah, absolutely.
They will wreak havoc. So my homework practice has become such a part of my life. And so many of my musician friends and instrumentalist friends, especially instrumentalist friends, because they can practice 15 hours a day, whereas us singers,
we can't. Yeah.
Too. But the way they talk about their practice and the way the practice interweaves itself into their lives, it's like, wow, you're a complete musician, because you never stop being an artist. You are the artist. So the homework becomes less about being homework and becomes life work. That's the way that
it does. Also, you're absolutely right. When you are thoroughly familiar with your material, the nerves do lessen quite a bit. You will be surprised. And the thing is, you want to, especially during the rehearsal process, get as much of that down pat as you can, because what does that do? That allows you the opportunity when you don't have to think about the lyrics, when you don't have to think about anything but performing, thinking of ways that you're communicating that message. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, oh my God, when you do that and you become one, me, I zone, I go inside. Of course, I'm aware that the audience is there, but I just go somewhere. All I am seeing are the images and what the lyrics are saying. I just go somewhere. And I do it no matter what song I'm singing, what kind of genre, doesn't matter. Fast, slow, it doesn't matter. I just go there. And that's what I see in you, Janina, when I watch you perform. And I've seen videos of you, whether it's, in a musical or opera or in a concert. You
Hmm.
just go there because, understand, ladies and gentlemen, there should be no difference.
Yes.
Performance is performance is performance. And when you get in the habit, just like Janina said a few minutes ago, when you get in the habit of doing this and practicing in this way, you'll be surprised how good you're going to become. And then good leads to great.
Yes, and I think that the preparation is such a big
Mm-hmm.
part. The preparation doesn't
Yes.
only mean I know all my words, I know my tech, but one thing that I learned from you, Vivian, is you said when I'm doing my show, I have choreographed every movement. I
Mm-hmm.
know when I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to the right, I know when I'm going to the left, I know it, and it makes it seamless. Like that was
Yes.
such wonderful. It was so good to know that because then you're just not up there standing like, oh, I'm just going to sing
Yes.
these words and I'm just going to, wander over here if I feel like it. Now, some people are off the cuff and they can do that. That's fine for them. But when you have it planned out, it is so succinct, it's tight, you know what you're doing, and it is fierce.
Well,
So
thank you.
that is,
Thank you so much. Um, Let me expound on that. What she is saying. I block out my songs. Do I choreograph every step? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I block my songs out. For instance, uh, let's take for instance. Okay, "Wind Beneath My Wings." Maybe I'm going to sing the first part of "Wind Beneath My Wings" center, okay, center stage. Then maybe the second part of it, I am going to go over slowly because no one should ever read your blocking. They should never read your blocking. Oh, it's time for me to go stage right. Let me get on over there. No, you don't want to do that. And then maybe at the chorus, I'm going to go across stage to stage left. It's blocking out your song. Because here's the thing, when you're doing a complete show, you want, for me, every song has got to be a production unto itself.
mm,
Every song has got to have different elements. For instance, I may not start every song center stage. I may start one of my songs stage right or stage left. I mean, that's given dimensions to your show. That's what it is. It's giving levels. So that's what Janina means when she says, because I block out my show, even with my patter. I figure out what I don't memorize. Now, here's the thing, I do not memorize patter. I have a gist of what I'm going to say. And after a while, it will find its rhythm and you'll find that you'll end up saying the same thing. But the reason why I don't memorize is because, unlike theater, you are in a nightclub situation. And an audience should feel like you're talking to them, like they're in your living room. So if everything is memorized to the point of death, especially when you first start that show, and that's the approach you've taken, ooh, Lord, if you forget one word is going to be a pregnant pause. I've seen artists have 5, 6, 7 pregnant pauses, and I knew. So what do? Well, if you're writing the show yourself, well, you just look at the words, get the general meaning of it, put it in the way you would say it if you were talking to a friend, and cue words, you can't change those because that is telling your conductor when to start. So you set up your cue so he knows. Okay, but leading up to that point, be more relaxed when you're learning your patter. And you will find that you won't have too many of those, you won't have any pregnant pauses. I never have pregnant pauses on the stage because anybody could say something to me at any given time and I can leave that dialogue, that patter. I won't do that though if I'm in a serious part of a monologue. That I won't do. And you don't ever want to do that because when you're in a serious part of the monologue, stay there. Stay there. Don't deviate from there. But if it's like a free part of your show, you know, and somebody throws something, as they tend to do in some of my shows, I can talk back at them and then pick up where and that's because you want to know, here again, oh Lord, here again, we're talking about knowing that material. Knowing that material. So, and I do. My books, I have scripts. Everything is scripted. Have my shows, and I've created 4, have they, with the patter, have I found a way where it's basically the same patter every time? Pretty much so. But in the beginning, maybe on 4 nights, I may say things slightly different. But here's the key. I knew the gist of what I was saying. Not exactly every word, but the gist. And that's the important thing. So, Janinah, diction.
Yes, diction, my favorite.
Oh, Lord. Let me go to side here. Don't get me started. Go ahead, Janinah. I'm going to let you take this, honey. I'm going to get some water. You need water before you start on this?
Diction. Oh, my favorite.
Mine too, girl.
You know, we not only want to know the story we're telling, but we want people to understand the story that we are telling. And I believe diction is not something we can take for granted.
No.
I believe that final consonants are not something we can take for granted. I know that knowing the difference between voiced consonants and unvoiced consonants are not something we can take for granted.
Not at all.
We want the audience to understand what we're saying. And what makes a good storyteller is someone who speaks and sings clearly. And singing, because we're making sound and the vowel shapes may modify and shift, we want to be very clear about how we articulate the consonants that precede the vowels and that succeed the vowels. So, you know,
okay, now
it's magic.
Yeah, I mean, and it's something. I have a video on as part of my YouTube channel on diction. You cannot, like she said, you can't not work on it. You have to work on it. We have an advantage because at Juilliard I had to take diction for a year. It was the opposite of me when I would go in the recording studio and I'm singing R&B. They said, Vivian, you're going to have to. So I had to learn how to switch it on and off because you don't want to come on with those hard D's in R&B and funk music. It would sound ridiculous. But certainly but still you understand what I'm singing though. You understand my lyrics. Even still, you understand my lyrics. What's happening, I think, with a lot of young people today, and it's been said all over the place, they don't understand what y'all singing. They just don't understand. Sounds like a foreign language because you're not taking the time to be definite with your consonants. And what may sound like an overkill when you say would, well, why do I have to hit the D that hard? So it'll sound normal to your audience. You have to hit it. You have to hit it, especially if you're in theater. Oh my God, you have to hit it.
Yeah,
you know. Go ahead.
It's important to understand, as I said, the difference between the voiced consonants, the unvoiced consonants, and then also the diphthongs. The diphthongs are very, knowing the characteristics of every vowel that we sing, because we're singing on the vowels, and then knowing the characteristics of the consonants will really help you, and it really helps to record yourself because you're thinking that you're doing, I did that D and it's coming out as a T because
it's like they say, because I've heard them do it so many times in my studio. How can I do it? I would. I would, I would. I said, baby, you're. They're not gonna ever hear that,
Mhm.
and it takes them forever to get it.
Mhm.
Duh,
Yeah.
would, would,
Yes.
would. I mean, you
And
got to
here, this
practice it. Go ahead,
exactly, this is
Janina.
something that can go into your homework pile. You're
Yes,
practicing your and developing a an exercise around it. You know,
yes,
that ends with a voiced consonant of some
yes.
sort. So you can get used to practicing doing voiced consonants, and you can get used to doing diphthongs, singing diphthongs.
Mm-hmm.
How much time are we going to spend on the ah and the ooh, or the
Mm-hmm.
oh and the ooh? How much
Mm-hmm.
time do we do that? Figure that out. You know, it's a good exercise to discover.
And for sure your audience will appreciate it. They
Oh yeah.
really, because they talk about you guys when you have bad diction. They do. You know, you couldn't understand anything that they sang. You just couldn't understand what they were singing, what they were saying, even with dialogue. It's the same thing. Okay, Janina, what time do you get to the theater?
I often get to the theater. Well, I never go to the theater without having sung something, without
Warmed
doing
up without
so,
warming up a
because
bit.
because that's my time to spend time with my voice that day, spend time with myself, and prepare myself to to be on the stage. I often get to the theater an hour before the curtain.
Yeah,
We're
same
usually
here.
Yeah, we're not called until half hour, but I like to be there early so I can set myself up, calmly put on my makeup, you know, do a little bit of some vocalese, but just have my time and be comfortable. So
You want to get in the habit, ladies and gentlemen, of doing that because number one, if you we've spoken about this so many times. Rehearsal starts at 10, you arrive at 10, you're late
mhm,
because they're ready to start at 10.
yeah,
You haven't warmed up, dancers haven't warmed up. When you get home after rehearsal, you got to work on what you learned that day. Have some dinner.
hmm,
Do whatever you need to do to unwind a bit. But you got to pick up that script. You got to
yes,
pick up that music. That's not me time. Me time really doesn't apply until basically after you open. But for me, it's never me time. I'm constantly working on my shit,
hmm,
even long after the show has opened to make
yeah,
it better and better and better. Then you wonder why some people run away with the show, get the reviews because they stood out. Maybe they stood out because they had their shit together. Janina, before we wind down with this, let's talk about vocal health. What's your little regimen? What do you do? Because your
well, I
voice is magnificent, has grown more and more and more, and mine, even at the age I am, is still there.
yes.
So tell me how you do it.
Well, this during this time, I actually had a bout with a vocal hemorrhage, which is something I did not know that I could get with just chilling around the house, like having a cough. I coughed, and I had my throat was not hydrated enough. And for ladies, around your menses, it can happen. And so I start there because I learned a lot in my whole career. I never had any kind of vocal issues. And I always thought that would come from doing too much, or you're singing too much, or you're not doing it. But this came as a very natural occurrence in a dry home. So I say all of that to say that hydration is a big key of keeping our voices healthy.
Oh, Lord, wait a minute. Go ahead, keep talking.
Yes, hydration is key. If we can find a way to drink, I would say a gallon a day, that's excessive, but a lot.
You'll see the
It's
difference.
important, yes. And also keeping your air moist is very important as well. So hydration is very key for me. Um, I'm not a screamer, so I'm not going to be at, any kind of event where I'm just like, So I try to be mindful of how I use my voice socially. You know, we don't want to be, I'm not one of these singers that's very restrictive of, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. But we have to be mindful. I try to be mindful as I can of my instrument because I am my instrument. I stay well. I have a very significant regimen with vitamins and things when I know, sicknesses are in the air and, taking my vitamin C and
And
a
do you
good
smoke?
I do not smoke.
Do you do
No, 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 no,
drugs?
no. That I do not do drugs.
I didn't
No.
expect you to admit to that, but I'm just saying that for a reason because both of these things, smoking and drugs, can be deleterious to your vocal folds.
Yeah, it's
They
very
can
true.
destroy them.
And I do have some colleagues that do that, but
Mm-hmm.
usually it's the lower voices that can get away with that.
Girl,
But
mm-mm.
I do not. I'm not saying do that, but
Honey, I tried that long time ago. And baby, I smoked some pot, baby. The next day I couldn't sing.
yeah,
I could not sing. And I tried it two more times. Baby, that was the end of that because why? This is first for me.
it takes
Nothing, this is my gift from God. Nothing is more important than that.
yeah, and it takes a lot of time to recover after having
Yes,
done
it
that and you're
does.
trying to sing, and it's like, so you don't want to do anything that's going to compromise, you know, your ability and your capacity to do your work. A balance between, recreation and, being not pious, but conservative.
Yes. Okay, let's just say, and it does happen, we wake up, or maybe one of the viewers, they're a singer and they wake up and they're very, very dry and they have a show to do that night. Is there any particular concoction that you drink?
Yeah, well, if I wake up and I'm particularly dry and I can't do like my, I
Oh, I
immediately,
do the same thing. I do that too.
I immediately go to steaming. We can drink, our water and whatnot, but that passes over the vocal folds. It doesn't necessarily get to them.
Yes.
But the steam gets to the vocal folds and hydrates them. So that would be my first go-to. And even when I'm singing, or I feel dry or something feels funny, I will steam. Steaming is a
Me too.
big
Do you
part
go
of.
in the shower? Do you do it in the shower?
I do it in the shower, but I prefer like the machine or
The
something that
machine.
concentrates it and, to put my face in there. One thing I will
Yes.
say that's also really beneficial, like if you have a cold or even just to invigorate the vocal folds, is an herb called slippery elm. Slippery elm throat lozenges are my wonderful thing.
That's your
And
go-to.
yes, and I use them. You can suck on them, or you can put them in water and let it get in the water and have the water get slippery. It's kind of
Can you
gross.
get slippery elm tea bags?
You can get slippery elm tea.
Um,
They have throat coat and things like that, so you can do that. I prefer these lozenges
the
because
lozenges.
they work best for me.
Okay, so that's good information, guys. And also, I'm going to throw in when you're doing a show, if you really want to be, especially in theater, because I don't think you all don't do in the opera world as many shows as we do in equity theater, do you?
No,
You
opera usually is one show then off, one show then off. It's very
okay.
rare that they're back to back. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna stick with theater since we do 8 shows a week, guys. If you want to be as brilliant on that eighth show of the week as you are on that first show, don't go out partying late at night, every night, yelling and screaming because I'm going to tell you, for most, there will be a price to pay.
You must conserve your energy, especially
Yes,
with 8 shows a week, because that makes you tired in your body as well. And
yes.
our bodies, of course, are connected to our voice. We are our voices. So we must find ways to sneak in a nap or, do something that is going to allow our bodies to continue to be able to function highly and well. And it may mean that you don't go out on your day off.
Yep.
You know, it may mean that you are having your feet up way more often than, normal. And it may mean that you got to say, no, I can't go out to, the club with you guys today, because I'm tired and I need to conserve my energy.
There, to be honest, guys, you got to know that there are sacrifices. If you take this business seriously, there are sacrifices that you're going to have to make.
Hmm. Hmm.
Life changing changes in your lifestyle.
Yeah.
If you're serious about this business and you think that you have something to offer as a singer, eventually to become a performer, there
Hmm.
are sacrifices.
Yeah.
And it's okay to make those sacrifices.
As I mentioned before, what we build lives. We build
Yes.
lives uh, that are filled with our purpose. We build our life toward our purpose.
Love the color of your butterfly. Please talk about your CD, your songs, your.
Yes, love the color of your butterfly is my a work that is so very dear to my heart because it's something that I've been working toward for a long time. I didn't even know that I was working toward it, but I was working toward it, you know. And it is a collection of some of my most beloved songs and arias. And I have collaborated with some wonderful musicians who inspire me through their art and their contributions to the world of music. And Love the Color of Your Butterfly is a chance for me to express my art in the way that I would like.
But don't you have jazz standards on there?
I do. So what it is
Yeah.
it's a collection of, again, my
Mm-hmm.
most beloved songs and arias, but it's where I decide to juxtapose my classical love and life with my jazz roots and being.
Okay,
So
let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. Let me tell y'all something. If y'all ever walked into a club and you had never heard Janina sing in her classical voice, her operatic voice, she would be to you listening the quintessential jazz singer. She is amazing. She
girl.
scats like what? What? I mean, it is fabulous. I just wanted to throw that in there. Go ahead, Janina.
Thank you, girl. Yeah, so I coined what I do, juxtaposing these styles, called class. And class is a concept that builds bridges, that unifies, that allows us to embrace our differences and bring them together in order to create one thing. So on the album, I've decided to include some artists who are compositions by artists who have done that, like Duke Ellington. I'm doing three selections by Duke Ellington on the album. I'm doing some art songs by African American composers on the album. I'm doing a spiritual on the album. We have one of my favorite arias, E Lucera le Stelle from Tosca by Puccini on the album. We've got juxtaposed in the course of one song. I am singing in my classical sounding voice and my jazz sounding voice, juxtaposing the swing with tango, the tango of Carmen. So it's really a wonderful exploration of many different things coming together.
You have to. It's stream. Is it streaming on most of the
Yes,
platforms?
it's available on all of the platforms. I mean,
Now,
even
what if they want a hard copy though?
if they want a hard copy, you can go to bandcamp.com and find Janinah Burnett. I can give you the link actually, Vivian, and then we can put it
And
in
I'm
that.
going to post it. Now, do you have a website?
I do www.janinahburnett.com. You can
Okay.
see the album there as well. And I was going
Okay,
to say,
guy.
we do a cover of a Sade song as well, Kiss of Life. So we've got pop, we've got everything.
Yes. Oh, Janina, this was wonderful. Give some final words to these young people or older people watching who just need a little guidance. Just a little
Just a little
final
guy.
word, one or two
I
words.
would say to you lovely people who are desiring to walk the path of performance, I would say that it is a wonderful way to discover more about yourself and to be unafraid to go to the deepest parts of your heart and allow yourself to share that because that is your art.
Beautifully said. Janinah Burnett, I cannot thank you enough. This was absolutely fabulous. What a fabulous discussion.
So wonderful. Thank you, Vivian. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. And to you viewers, thank you so much for checking out my channel and checking out this video. And come back from time to time because there are different videos, different kinds of conversations, but it's all about show business. And don't forget to subscribe. Did you hear that, B? Did you hear that? And don't forget to like. Till the next time, bye. Say bye, Janina.
Oh, bye.
Bye.